This is my boat. It's an Alberg 22, 1974 model. And today what I have to do is drop the mast because my rig, even though my standing and running rigging is brand new, we had a storm a couple of weeks ago and my generator came unfurled and it beat the crap out of my rig. There's all strands of the sail up there, and I don't like the way that spread is looking right now. It's kind of drooping down on the starboard side, on the port side now. The other day it was the starboard side, so I got to pull that down, take a good look at all of that, the brackets and the toggles and all that good stuff. So that's today's project. There's a whole bunch of other projects on this boat too. It wasn't a very expensive boat. I think I paid $2,500 for it, and it had a brand new set of sails. And then I spent close to $7,000 having the rigging done, standing and running rigging, a brand new. I could have done that myself for a lot cheaper, and I probably should have. But I don't know. So I paid $2,000, another $550 for the outboard motor, a used two-stroke. Something like $1,800 having the sails converted to roller furling, because it didn't have roller furling when I bought it. So it's a nice boat and it sails well. I'm kind of over it, to tell you the truth, but I got way too much money in it now to just dump it. I mean, what I would have to ask for it, it'd be hard to find someone willing to pay that. But really, that's the nature of old boats. I mean, I'm not going to complain about it. So anyways, what I'm doing today is I got some 2x4. I'm going to fabricate a crutch for the mast back aft. It's going to go on the push put right there. And then I'm going to fabricate a jib pole to help lower the mast there, so it's not such a crazy angle on the halyard and all that stuff, on the halyard and the forestay as it goes down. So that's what's going on today with the Alberg 22. Okay, easy enough so far. 8-foot 2x4s. They're 24.5 inches on center. They're going to line up with the stanchions on the push put. Then I'm going to fasten to that with ropes, and then I'm going to make some braces over here going down to the deck to brace it fore and aft, and tie it to the rail and brace it fore and aft with some braces. And on to the next step. One thing that any old sailboat's going to have is a whole pile of old lines that aren't used anymore. So I'm going to use some of this for lashing down and for rigging when I lower the mast. The trick is to make sure that I grab a piece of rope that I'm not using for anything else. And all of this, I'm pretty sure, I have to think about this for a minute, but since I have all new standing and running rigging, all of this is just old rope looking for a use. Which will always be a use. That's my main sheet over here. So that's my new main sheet. So I know I'm not delving into that. And my new jib sheets got shredded in the storm. This looks like, these are old halyards and sheets and that kind of thing, which I have all new stuff. So all of this is fair picking. Alright, so there's my quick and dirty boom crutch there. Well, mast crutch. I have it lashed to the rail up top there and then down the bottom. And now what I need to do is put some braces, I think, leading forward to keep it from, the lashing is going to pretty much keep it where it is, but the braces will help steady it up a little bit. So that's the next step. All right, so that's the finished product here. And this is not going to stay up for any kind of weather. It's just for laying it on while I take the mast down. Then I'll disassemble this whole thing. And I guess figure out how I would make it so that it would be, withstand some wind and weather. Okay, so now I'm just about all rigged up to go. So I have the forestay under the roller fastened to the end of the jib pole here. And I cut a crutch up there that fits the mast, and I have it tied into the mast so it can't come out of the mast right there. That's what all that line is there. This line is it going to the base of the mast and keeping the hinge engaged up there. Because it's not a captured hinge, it's just kind of a pivot point. So that's keeping that engaged. And then I have my main sheet here that I'm going to use to lower the mast. So, the pulling point's right here up to the head of the mast. And this is just a brace to change the angle. The only thing right now holding the mast up is this halyard right here. This is a spare jib halyard that I have no use for, but I asked him to put it in there anyways. So now all I have to do is go find some help to catch this thing at the other end. I'm not sure if it's going to be able to clear that guy's forestay behind me or not. So I have to go see if I can scare up a hand. And before I do that, I'm going to just slack up all these turnbuckles on the side stays so that it'll be ready to go when I get a helping hand. And then I'm just going to ease up on this jib sheet until my main sheet here, my block and tackle, takes up the strain. And then I'm going to just gently lower it down. Okay, well, we got the mast down. And it went mostly the way I planned it, except a couple of little things. My jib pole here worked exactly like I thought it would. There was no drama with that. The mast started to come down. My mast crutch here needed some sway braces because it started to tweak itself off to the right here. You see it. So I'm going to have to rethink that with some kind of sway braces and some better fabrication so it all stays together. So it was pulling itself out of the nails here. And then the original crutch was up there, and it was too high for us to work with when we had to get the mast out of the mast step there because of the angle. So we had to make a lower crutch for it there. So back to the drawing board with the mast cradle. A decent prototype though, it got the job done. And then the other thing is the mast. I'll show you the mast. It's high tide, it's an extra high tide here today. And so the yard's underwater for a little bit here. What I should have done was, when I had the mast down and before we removed it, and it was standing in the crutch over there, I should have captured all this rigging and tied it along the mast. Because when we were getting it off the boat, it was a big giant mess of tangle of lines everywhere. So I'll have to remember that next time I do it. But all in all, it was a success. For the first time. And 2 people were sufficient to get it done. As it got down to almost laying in that crutch, on the way down it started to tweak itself off to the right, so it wasn't going to lay in the crutch. So I had to go get some help to help lower it on the block and tackle while I just maneuvered it into the crutch. And then we did have enough room with the boat behind us. I just had to wiggle it back and forth a little bit to avoid his mast up there. And that's an Alberg Vega, by the way, behind us. Nice old boat. So anyways, yeah, success. If you need to remove your mast and you don't have a lot of help, this is how you do it. The jib pole, and I didn't invent this, by the way. I watched a couple of YouTube videos to figure out how to do it. I made this jib pole, or lifting arm, or whatever you want to call it. I made a pattern, the shape of the mast, and this is exactly the length of from the mast to my bow fitting up there, which is what, the I or the P? I always get that screwed up. And then it's got an eye bolt up there on each side. One eye bolt receives the forestay, and the other eye bolt will be on the bottom, and that receives your block and tackle to lower it or raise it. And then I drilled a hole right here about 3 feet up from the mast, and I ran a line around here. I ran a line around here like this to hold it into the mast, and I tightened it down with a trucker's hitch. So it was nice and tight to the mast. And there was no drama there at all. It did exactly what it needed to do. I'm pretty happy about that. So it's 8.5 feet. It was 201 inches, I think is what I measured, to where those eye bolts are to the mast. So, you know, a 10-foot piece of 2x4. This is just some scrap plywood that I had. I sandwiched 2 1-inch pieces of ply together to make this crutch for the mast. And that'll go home and go in the shed, and we'll use that to raise it next year. Raising it should be just as easy. I'll refabricate this crutch so that it actually stays together. Figure out how to make it so that I could just leave it there all winter, and maybe even just leave the mast in it. And yeah, there you go. Still waiting for the tide to go out so I can capture all that skin and run a rigging alongside the mast. I'm going to lash it down with some of this lashing that I have here. And yeah. Now this whole thing, if I had known what I was doing, I probably, after I built the accoutrement, I probably could have had this done in less than an hour, all strapped up, good to go. I'm going to redo that crutch so it's actually stays together, and I can leave it up there all year round. I'm going to make another crutch for the bow, and the mast will just stay up there like a ridgepole on the years that I do take it down.